welcome to today's session on private networks. I'm Hema Kadia from TeckNexus, and we are delighted to have Kirstin joining us from Ericsson and Morgan joining us from Epiroc. Ericsson recently won TeckNexus Award for Excellence in Private Network Deployments for Mining Sector. And Kirstin and Morgan, thank you for joining me today. Before we begin our conversation, I would appreciate if you can take a few minutes to introduce yourselves and elaborate a little bit upon your roles and responsibilities.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead, Kirstin?
Oh, sure. I'm Kirstin Sym-Smith, and I'm part of Ericsson's Enterprise Wireless Solutions organization. We focus on private networks, and within the private network area, my focus is actually mining. So I have been focusing on the mining vertical, looking at different ecosystem partners, also looking at opportunities. My role is global, so I'm looking at all markets around the world. So it gives me a good grasp of what's going on. But that's me.
All right, great. Morgan Rody. I work at Epiroc Mining Equipment. So we produce and sell mining manufacturing equipment to the global market. I'm a senior project manager at Epiroc, been working there for 15 years. I work mostly in research and development in our automation vehicles, their loaders and trucks. I've been involved with a number of external funding projects that Ericsson have been part of, next-gen SIMS, and this has been a long collaboration, at least almost 10 years, I think, Kirstin.
Yeah.
We've been working together, working on different aspects in the communication space. So yeah, that's me.
No, that's great.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Let's begin with our first question. So, what are some of the biggest connectivity challenges that you see in the mining sector, and how is Epiroc and Ericsson partnership addressing them?
I'll maybe start. I think one of the biggest challenges is the evolving connectivities that mines that are very dynamic need throughout their lifetime. They need a flexible connectivity solution. They're also really focused now on worker safety and productivity, and that requires an optimal network, in terms of performance and the reliability. So I'll stop there and let Morgan chime in. And
okay. I mean, we usually split this up into two different areas. There's above ground mining and underground mining. And the above ground mining is a much easier challenge to solve, especially from a communications perspective. You almost always have line of sight to your assets. So therefore, it's far less access points, not as many antennas or towers. And this also applies to navigation when using GPS. But when you go underground, and there we're talking, sometimes up to 5 kilometers underground, and you have hundreds of kilometers of tunnels that are usually anywhere from 5 meters by 5 meters to maybe 6 or 7 meters by 7 meters. There's a lot of very thick, dense rock that makes communication almost impossible. It's very challenging. So you need a lot more access points. All the turns are sharp corners. So it's not like a roundabout, where you can see around the corner. And on top of that, our mining machines are basically giant steel blocks with wheels. And this is not so conducive to good communication. So we've had to test a lot of different hardwares, different combinations, different types of antennas, different placements, where all that sits on the machine and in the mine, what works best. We've tested Wi-Fi, we've tested 4G, LTE, and most recently 5G. And having direct access to Ericsson has been a huge plus. I really don't think we could have succeeded on this without them. It's been really good working together with them. So I mean,
likewise.
Yeah, Thanks. And I mean, most people don't realize that there are hundreds of kilometers of tunnels in your typical larger mining operation. So, this was also a big benefit for Ericsson from a hardware perspective, and also new business cases for them.
Yeah, agree. And I guess too with biggest challenges in connectivity for mines, the mines really need a secure network, and using 4G or 5G, they have the advanced encryption standards, so that's been beneficial to their security needs. And then things that I think people are hearing a lot about with private networks is the high bandwidth and the low latency that it provides. So I think, Morgan, when you just described the tunnels and the complexity and some of the challenges, we think that private networks is working well with the machinery to help solve some of those issues.
Yeah.
And I can just add one final thought is that mines are generally located in the middle of nowhere. So meaning, there's a lot of mines. If you take Australia, a
Yeah.
huge country, a lot of the mining areas or production sites are located in the middle of the country, or, very far inland from where you'd have the major population areas. So building up the infrastructure is a challenge for both of us.
Yes.
So, what are some of the joint solutions that Epiroc and Ericsson has from solution perspective, from automation perspective, that would help make mining more safer, efficient, and sustainable?
Hmm? I mean, excuse me. I mean, by providing, how can we say, a reliable and robust communication in almost any industrial environment, you're able to use that data in a good and safe way. So you can see how the machines are used, you can see their state of health, you can see where they are in relation to other machines or even human workers. The list it's almost endless. How
Yeah.
many different use cases or business cases there are for this, and automation, especially deep underground. The deeper you get, the more dangerous it becomes. There's high pressure on the rocks. There's high amounts of heat, so very high temperatures, and this makes it quite dangerous for human workers to be there. So that allows us to either remove the workers completely via teleremote, and there, 5G is vital. Or we place them maybe further away, 100 or 200 meters away from the dangerous area via remote control technologies that we have. So, I mean, right there, I can really safely say that we've saved hundreds of lives, just being able to remove people from the dangerous areas in mining environments. And usually when you remove them, you put them either very close to the surface or back onto the surface in a nice air conditioned office. And who wouldn't rather be there?
Good point. Good point. And I guess I'll just make a further comment in terms of the Epiroc Ericsson collaboration to address the connectivity challenges. Ericsson and Epiroc work together to productify Epi's cellular-based solution, and they tested it with Ericsson's current private network solution, EP5G. So there was a lot of collaboration and defining the architecture that would enable some of the use cases that Morgan just talked about in terms of automation and digitalization and all that entails.
So
Yeah.
beyond 5G connectivity, I think AI and robotics also play a key role. So how
Yes.
do you take all these technologies as far as the future of mining is concerned? Like, how are you addressing those intersection of technologies for the mining sector?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the last few years, both automation or robotics and 5G have really kind of come together at a good meeting point where they're both in quite a reliable way of the technologies. It's reliable, it's safe, um, and it's easily deployable. So what we see is that when we use especially 5G, we can deploy at least 10 mining machines at some of our customer sites. And previously, using Wi-Fi, we were limited to about 3 or less. A lot of the larger mining companies, they have a roadmap to 20 mining machines in one kind of automation cell. And that's where we're headed towards. Now, if you throw in AI or machine learning into those other two technologies, then you can get features like predictive maintenance, machine health status, overall machine insights, and a lot more. So if you put that all together, you get a really safe and efficient operation. And mining customers, they're really focused on efficient operations today.
Well said.
Okay. So moving on to you mentioned insights, Morgan. How are you taking this insights, this learnings from the various mining deployments, and how are you packaging or standardizing them to apply to wider mining industry sector?
Yeah, the standards is a big thing. Nobody likes to use 3 or 4 or 5 different standards. You see, USB plugs for phones. What's happening there? So I mean, standards is very important globally. It's important to us. So we, by joining with Ericsson, the entire telecommunications community has already set standards. So we have kind of haven't had to deal with that ourselves. We use their expertise and knowledge, and from our, you could say, our successful trials that we've had at a few mining sites globally, we're really setting the foundation for the others to follow along. And we've noticed that we're getting more inquiries about larger installations because they see and they hear that, wow, Epiroc has 10 machines running with 5G and it works flawlessly. And that really sets the bar for the future.
I agree. When looking at that question, my first comment was 3GPP standards for 4G and 5G solutions and the effect that helps to scale. So agree 100%. And I think you sort of referenced the successful blueprints where one mine has had success rolling out a private network for various use cases, and others can kind of take that and learn from it and do the same. I think another aspect for scaling is one, I see that the mines, depending on how much investment they want to make, they can start small with a private network, have a core on-prem, and then add radios as they see the need to start building out and continue that way. So they can scale it there, how it works best. And then I guess also in terms of scale, I think of private networks as being much more easy to deploy than the old very, very large networks or other things in the past. And I think that will also help these networks to scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, Morgan, you want to add on top of it?
No, that was good.
Oh, okay, cool. So moving on to my last question, what are some of the trends that you foresee in mining sector in the coming years, and how is Epiroc and Ericsson partnership preparing to address those trends that you foresee?
For the future, even the last few years, upcoming trends are automation, digitalization, and electrification. And on top of that, making all of those things work is going to be 5G. I think that you really can't get a reliable operation with multiple automated mining machines without 5G. So getting that all together is really the upcoming trend, I would say. We've been doing it sort of a little bit over there, a little bit over here the last 10 years, one-off things, but now everything's coming together. And sure, 6G is being talked about. We have one ear to the ground, following that development, but it's the focus for us is really deploying or deploying those three main areas with 5G at our customers. And of course, AI and machine learning are big trends, especially the last 2 years. They're going to continue to be big trends. And that ties into with what I mentioned before about predictive maintenance, machine insights, and really that customers, they want the entire mining operation to be extremely efficient.
Yeah.
You know, we were looking a couple of years ago at, you know, how to make it efficient by days. Now we're into hours and half hours, you know, the really nitpicking to getting it really efficient. And I think it's a win-win for Epiroc and Ericsson and all our mining customers when we can deploy all these different technologies at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with what you said, Morgan, and just I guess an addition to that on my side, looking towards the future, Ericsson's obviously, and most companies are trying to support the environmental needs with our technology, and for our radio solutions that are used for operators and for private networks, we have a leading power consumption optimization that we reduce the power per transmitter, and ultimately it lowers power consumption 30 to 60%. And we're continuing to work on things like that to help with sustainability. So that's just one example, but just a comment for the future.
Thank you,
That's
Kirstin.
great.
Thank you, Kirstin, and thank you, Morgan, for sharing the insights on private networks for mining sector. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we end our conversation?
I just like to add, we at Ericsson, we love working with Epiroc. Really appreciate the partnership and look forward to continuing it.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same thing. It's been a great, at least since I've been involved the last 10 years or so, it's been really good, very positive. And we've met a lot of Ericsson and Epiroc employees in that time.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for success. Thank you for this session, and wish you all the success.
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Kirstin. Thanks,
Thanks,
Hima.
you guys. Thanks, Morgan.